Hi, Danny.
Good
Hi,
evening.
mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. You feeling better?
Yeah, much better, thanks. I've been on hardcore antibiotics,
Ooh,
which have definitely sorted it out. But it was in the end, it was an infected wisdom tooth, so it was pretty unsurprising that it was starting to get so painful. So I'm just glad I got to the dentist when I did. Otherwise, yeah, could have got a lot worse. How are things with you? Have you been?
uh, yeah, I'm okay. I'm so pleased that the sun has arrived. It's beautiful
Yeah,
outside, isn't it?
it's really nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's I actually came in the office today for the first time in a while, so I'm sort of in the shadows, but I can see bits of sunshine peeping around corners and things, which is cool. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be even nicer, I think. Apparently.
Yeah. The next 2 days are meant to be lovely. I'm quietly annoyed because I booked Thursday off work for an extra long weekend break, and the temperature's going to drop. But never mind.
Oh no, is it? I didn't know that it's dropping for the it's
Yeah,
dropping for the long weekend. Is
yeah,
Monday? So Monday's a bank holiday, isn't it? Right.
and Friday.
And Friday, of course. Yes, it's come around already. Yes. Yeah, yeah. For some reason, I was thinking the following weekend was Easter, but yeah, it's already this Friday, isn't it? Mad.
Mad indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had a note from Neil saying he can't make it today. Oh, Lucy's joining, but she's a little bit late. Sandra's away. Might be you and I having a chat about Google Analytics, Danny. We'll give them a few more minutes, I guess.
I mean, let me know if it's easier to attend Wednesday, because I could maybe do that.
Sorry, here comes Emily. So are you going anywhere for the weekend, or are you just?
No. I got no plans. Not used to being able to make plans, to be honest. It's a new sensation. I don't know. Cook something good for Easter. A good lunch. I don't know. Do you actually have plans?
I don't for this weekend. When we can, is it the week after that when we can go and mix with other households? We're going to it's my niece's 16th birthday, so we're going to go and have a garden party. So I'm quite looking forward to that. And my daughters are looking forward to seeing their cousins. Hi, Emily.
Hello. I'm going to keep my camera off. I'm not A1 today, so I have shamefully got a dressing gown around me. So I thought it's just best no one needs to see that.
Isn't that just standard lockdown working dress code?
I think it is, but I'm just trying to keep the Canute's name in good form for the moment.
Okay.
How is everybody?
Yeah, we're good, thanks.
Good.
Danny's gutted because he booked the wrong day off work.
What, today?
No, I booked Thursday off, but it's tomorrow and Wednesday that's going to have gorgeous sunshine, isn't it?
No, it's typical. I keep thinking I would, because we can't do much, I would rather work over Easter and bank the time, but hey, that's the way of the world.
Yeah. I think you've just got to take a day off every so often just for your own sanity a little bit. I'm just going to do nothing and I can't wait.
Okay, so I think Lucy's going to be joining any minute. She said she's going to be joining a bit later, but I think we can make a start anyway. So before I do make a start, any questions from either of you before this last session?
Are we going to cover a little bit about what we would have done last week?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. So last week we're going to talk about analytics and measurement. And I'm going to do that content as well. And just a couple of people, I'm not sure it was actually from this week, but they sort of said, oh, talk a bit about the setup you used here. So I can talk about that as well, just in case. I don't know. Is that of interest to either of you or any or either of you?
I'm interested in everything and anything. So
okay. Look, I think there's a fair amount of content. I'm going to go through it quite quickly, and then we can just leave a bunch of time for Q&A, especially even when Lucy joins. It'll be a small bunch, so just jump in and shout out on it. I'll go through the normal stuff that we were going to cover last week, and then we will have time to go through some more things. Danny, anything from you before I start?
No, go for it.
Okay, so part 7, strategy, management, and analytics. So it ties in nicely with some of the key skills. So if we think about, if we remember the context of the funnel. So if we imagine the left, so the social media advertising, we can view it as the top of the funnel. Search advertising is the middle of the funnel, and remarketing is at the bottom of the funnel in terms of the paid marketing tactics. So these are the main paid marketing tactics, and we've spent a bit of time on each one of these. So we'll sort of talk why that is. So social media advertising, the value, social media advertising, the paid advertising now, the value is that you can target based on your description, demographic, geographic, psychographic, all of those ways that we saw that you can target people. We don't need to know them, we just need to know how to describe them. And so for that reason, it makes it a good tactic for using at the top of the funnel as an awareness play. Because search advertising it responds to a user initiated event. So the user is typing in a search phrase into a search engine, and if we can intercept that, where it's by the nature of the fact that the user, the potential customers initiated a search, they're already interested, which implies that they're already some way down their user journey, that research phase, whether it's looking for a higher education location or looking for a new brand of hot chocolate, they're open to engaging us as a new potential supplier. And then we said remarketing. Broadly, remarketing is going back to a user that's either interacted with some of our advertising, or actually has been on our website, or we have some material data about them. We've got their email address, they're on our customer list, and so remarketing is targeting based on people's behavior, i.e. something that they've done in the digital world, at least when we're talking about digital marketing. And so remarketing is very much about engaging the people who've shown some interest. So they're further down the funnel still. And when we talk about the organic channels, so the non-paid channels, they all kind of work together. We've got content marketing and PR, the offline awareness, let's say, and we've spoken about search engine optimization and how that works. If we mark up our content correctly, if we structure our website correctly, then we can rank well in the organic search results. And then we also spoke about organic social media, so we can interact and engage our existing audiences and hopefully grow that audience as well. And then the key things to remember about these channels is content really is the fuel for everything. It's the delivery mechanism for our messages, and if we mark it up correctly, and we get our SEO strategy, well defined, then we can optimize that content to capture more of those potential customers who are researching, researching topics that are relevant, in terms of the products and services that we're able to offer. Social media, if we push that content out correctly and we can engage our audiences, then we can create engagement. And then PR, digital PR, offline PR is all about growing organic awareness, or earned media, if you like. So the key thing is to remember that our ROI from our marketing, it's all of these things, and it's about how they work together. Because the customer journey, the customer doesn't just see one social ad and buy, or you see one offline ad and buy, or see one article in the newspaper and buy, or see one web page and buy. There's a number of touch points that happen normally over a period of time, and therefore it's about how all of these tactics interact And so the return, in order to understand return on investment, which is normally what measurement is about, it's normally the reason why, why we want to do it, and why managers want to do it, why companies want to do it. We should understand that all of these channels work together, online and offline. And so when we talk about metrics, again, imagine the top of the funnel being to the left of the screen. So reach at the top of the funnel, when we want to create awareness, we want to reach new audiences. Typically, the sorts of things that we want to, the sorts of metrics that we might want to measure in the digital marketing world are how many people can we reach? So how many impressions do we get? And then the way that we put a sort of a quality indicator, a quality control number against that is like, how much does it cost? I mean, if we've got infinite budget, we can reach everyone who's got an internet connection, but actually how much does it cost us to reach them on average? Because if we create really good messages, we can, and particularly if we're multi-channel, if we put a message out there and it's attractive to our audience, then we hope it will be shared and we can get that earned media boost as well. But very broadly speaking, the way that the metric that we would use when we're measuring reach would be cost per impression, and CPM really typically would mean the cost per 1,000 impressions. And then engagements, we can measure it in a number of ways, but probably the most classic in digital marketing is the cost per click. So if I'm putting out a message and I'm spending X number of pounds to run this campaign, how many clicks do I get per month or per week or per day? And then divides the cost by the number of clicks, and that's a cost per click. And that's a good measurement for engagement. And engagement is a good metric to use in the middle of the funnel. Particularly works particularly well for search advertising. And then conversions, and in a moment we'll sort of talk about how Google Analytics works, but conversions typically in the digital marketing world would be a specific action that someone takes on a website. So I'm going to go to a course information page on a website. If I click on the Apply Now button, that would be tracked as a conversion, meaning that click would be tracked as a successful goal conversion inside analytics. And if we've got campaigns that are optimized, conversion focused campaigns that are all about driving people to that page and getting them to click, then we take the amount of money we've spent on that campaign in a given month, for example, and we divide the number of conversions that it achieves in a given month or for the duration of that campaign, then you can get an average cost per conversion. In some cases, if we've got well developed e-commerce websites, for example, we can actually track right to the end of the funnel, and we can say we've acquired a new customer, or we've acquired a new purchase, and we can actually track either cost per acquisition, or we can track in some cases with some e-commerce sites, a very specific ROI. So we can say for every £1,000 we spent on this advertising campaign, we got £4,000 of sales back, because we're tracking right back to a basket value on an e-commerce project. So those are the sorts of metrics we want to use. Now, just before we drop into some sort of fuller Q&A in a moment, obviously shout out if you've got any question, but I'll just talk you through an example that I hope will underpin some of what we're saying here. So just imagine for a moment we're a non-e-commerce company. So we're a professional services business, and we've got an event, and this is a really important event for us, because if we get the right people to this event and we deliver some good content and we stay in touch with those attendees after a while, we know that we can generate some business off that. So in this instance, we've got an event and we want to get the right attendees to sign up for this event. And let's assume that we've created a promotional video. We've got a landing page on our website that's actually selling the benefits of the website and linking to a sign-up form so that people can actually sign up to attend that website. And then we'll have some reminders in the run-up to that event, and we'll have some follow-on marketing. And this sort of process is fairly typical for this type of business. And so what we're saying is if we think about our funnel then, so 6 months in advance of the event or some material, certainly significantly in advance of the event, we want to start that awareness marketing. So in this case, we've decided that the strategy is we're going to take our video and we're going to present it on LinkedIn to the right job titles in the right industries with the right company sizes that fit the right profile. So we're going to deliver our video ad to this audience on the LinkedIn platform. In addition, the event is very specific in its nature. So we're going to take out the keywords that relate to that event, and any users that are entering those keywords, we're going to market to them via Google AdWords. So both of those are awareness focused plays, and we hope that we're going to get lots of clicks onto that landing page. But we know from experience that if someone clicks onto a landing page, the majority of people won't sign up straight away. It doesn't mean they're not interested. It might mean they need to get their procurement team to pay for that. Well, let's imagine it's a free event. They might need to check their calendars. They might want to check with their colleagues. It might not be for them. It might be another colleague in their team that they want to join. All sorts of reasons why they wouldn't sign up immediately. But using remarketing and using cookies, we're going to capture people who landed on that page, and then we're going to remarket to them. There are many ways that we can do this, but for argument's sake, let's just say we're going to send Google banner ads that say, remember the event, ? Do you want to sign up ? 30 days to go to the event. Do you want to sign up? So we're going to do that sort of remarketing, which is designed for people who are familiar with what we're saying, but it's just a reminder. And then obviously we've got the event itself. And then let's imagine then that the event has happened and we're now evaluating the campaign performance and we're looking at the individual channels. So, I'll slow down here a little bit and please do sort of shout out. So we're saying that LinkedIn and the LinkedIn ad platform is telling us that we got 100,000 impressions and 1,000 of those people watched at least 75% of the video. And in terms of direct conversions from the link that was alongside that video to the sign up form, there were 10 confirmed sign-ups and we spent £10,000 on that form of advertising. AdWords, 10,000 impressions, 1,000 clicks, 10 sign-ups. Remarketing, another 10,000 impressions, another 1,000 clicks, 50 sign-ups, same amount of money. And then when we look inside analytics, we can see that there's a certain amount of sign-ups, good number of sign-ups that came from just on our website. And organic was the channel that sent it, meaning they got to our website via some form of organic search, or even they went there directly to the website and they signed up. And this £4,000 is a notional sum that is used to estimate the landing page design and the video, and different marketing people take a different approach here, but for completeness, we put in a number there. And so the question really is then, what is the overall cost per sign up? And what is the cost per sign up of each channel? And which is the best channel? So I'll just go back. And the answer, I put the answer there to the first question in there. So let's go back to the page. So in total, we spent 10 plus 5 plus 5 plus another 4. So it's £24,000 we spent. And we got 50 plus 50 plus 10 plus 10. So we wanted to get 120 signups, and we got 120 signups. So 24,000 divided by 120 is £200. I did the maths earlier. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Is that right? No, it's not right, is it? £500, is it? Oh no, £200. There you go. Luckily, I did the maths earlier. So 24,000 divided by 120, sorry, is £200. So the average cost per sign up is £200. So because I put 24,000 in, I got 120 signups. If I put it's a really simplistic example, but if we follow the logic, if I put half the money, I would have got half the number of signups. If I put double the money, I would have got double the number of signups. So assuming we're sort of okay with that, then when we look at the cost per sign up for each channel, so if we look at the channel independently, we see that it's quite different. So we got 10 signups from the LinkedIn ad, and so that's £1,000 per sign up from LinkedIn. It's £5,000 divided by 1,000 divided by 10 signups is £500 for Google AdWords per sign up, and 5,000 divided by 50 for remarketing. This is only £100. So the lower the better here, because that's the name of the game. When we look at the organic channel, 4,000 divided by 50 is actually £80. So the question is, which is the best channel? Anyone?
You would say the organic is probably the best, no? Remarketing is not bad either. The other two are quite high.
Yeah.
I'm not so good at numbers, and I'm struggling at the moment reading this.
Sorry, Emily. I normally sort of run through it a bit, but
I've been looking at numbers all day today, and they just scare me. And I think I've gone into some sort of like paralysis now. So,
Lucy, are you with us?
I am with you. My
Oh,
apologies for being late. I was stuck
Don't
on
worry.
a call, and I couldn't get off in time, so my apologies. But I am here. My video's not on because my internet's not that great. I think it's the time of day. But I am with you. But I only caught the back end of all of that, so my apologies.
No worries. So listen, it was a bit of a trick question, right? So Danny's answer is correct if you look at the channels, individually. So when we say something like AdWords has 10 signups, what we're looking at is what we call direct conversions. So this means someone saw an ad, they clicked on the ad, and they went to the landing page and they signed up straight away. But remember, when we were talking about websites and content optimization, when you've got something like a sign-up form, or in the case of Noop's checkout page, most people who get to those pages, when it comes to actually making a commitment, like paying money or like signing up for something, or even giving your email address to sign up for a newsletter, most people will opt not to do the thing. And they might think, it doesn't mean because they definitely don't want to do it, but because I'll come back later and I'll do that later, or I'll check with my partner and then I'll come back and do it. And so the value of the LinkedIn video or awareness marketing in general is sometimes not to actually get the direct conversion, although that's nice if you can get it. It's actually to create the awareness so that user can come back later.
that makes sense, because that's ultimately what we do as a brand, especially with our stores. And we've actually got this mobile van unit which we've purchased. We're sending it to a festival this summer, but the cost of it's so high, but at the end of it we're doing it from a marketing perspective, really. So this kind of helps validate the reason for doing that. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And your impressions are 10 times higher here, aren't they? So is that equates to what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, Danny, because the awareness focused campaigns normally will have very large reach but less actual click-throughs, because it's particularly something like a video, it's more around views. But even if it's, as Emily said, what was it you're sending? Did you say it was a mobile?
Yeah, I don't know if it's been mentioned before. It probably hasn't. So we've got a big mobile van, although it's more the size of a lorry, that's been kitted out like a store that we're taking on the road. It's still being built. So, and because of COVID bits, we're not going to be going too far with it this summer, but we're really looking towards like winter and next year. But yeah, the costs associated with it are really high. To begin with, we'll probably be lucky if we break even, but we've gone ahead with it from the perspective that it will benefit our marketing. So kind of seeing this, it does reassure us. But would you always, I suppose, evaluate your campaigns and your marketing based on this rather than the end result in terms of like ROI and money?
Yeah, so it's like it's the eternal question, really, Emily, and the I think thank you for giving that example because it's brilliant. It's like I don't know how you want to term it, but in a sense it's a PR stunt,
Yeah.
because you're sending a big truck and it's got your brand on it, and people are going to take photos of it and they're going to talk about it and they're going to remember it, and you might even get in the local press and things like that, depending on what it's going to do. So you're creating lots of awareness, and it's really tangible. It's experiential marketing, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a story. It is a store at the end of the day, but there is that experiential element with it. And well, my background is events, so it does seem quite events and marketing based, but it's got a lot of things sort of going around it, and it's really exciting. But obviously, the marketing side and the cost side is substantial with it.
Yeah, but it's like so the point is, if you measured the return on investment of that initiative by how much chocolate you sold from that particular van, it's probably loss making. But what you're not taking account of is all of the people who saw that van and then they go home and then they Google Snoop, and then they go on the website and then they make a purchase. And not only that, but a few weeks later they say to their friends, "Oh, isn't this great?" And then some of them make a purchase. So that's the value of awareness marketing.
Yeah,
it is really valuable, and it can be offline and PR like you're talking about, or it can even be the sorts of digital advertising that's not necessarily going to get a direct ROI by itself, which is like something like LinkedIn awareness advertising or Facebook awareness advertising. Those types of campaigns, if they're set up for awareness, typically won't get an ROI from a direct response by themselves. But in the world of digital, if LinkedIn and AdWords and whatever other campaigns that are first touch about getting that first bit of awareness get people to a landing page, the value of these two channels in the context of digital advertising is that they got a lot of people to the landing page. There were 1,000 people who went to the landing page. Only 10 of them signed up. So only 1% of them signed up. But of these 1,000, because we ran remarketing, we remarketed to these 1,000 people. So the question is, when remarketing gets its 50 signups, how many of those signups came because of the AdWords and because of the LinkedIn? And the answer is probably quite a lot. And then moreover, because of the way that tracking works, a lot of these people who saw the video and saw the search ad and clicked onto a page, they came back directly or via some sort of organic search, and then they signed up. So these signups are very likely to be motivated in a scenario like this, because it's not, I haven't taken someone else's data, but this is really normal and real example. And then Emily, what you're talking about is obviously bringing in offline marketing, which would have a similar positive impact. If you ran a TV advert, for the next 10 days straight for Noops, you would see a massive uplift in your organic search traffic. Danny, if Metfilm got onto the national newspapers for whatever reason, you're going to see a massive uplift in your search traffic and conversions to follow.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting in that sometimes when people talk about outdoor advertising or print advertising having no value, but because people are scared of it now because it's not measurable, but you can still see things like the traffic coming into your website shortly after something like that is launched.
Yeah, we see it with influencers as well.
Yeah, we actually did for a while with one of the major cinema chains. We did a promotional video for the school then, and we were able to see a spike in interest off the back of that. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's difficult to measure, but look, I mean, I'm obviously a digital marketing person, but we 100% believe in offline marketing. And it's like we said at the top of this presentation, it's multi-channel, so all the different digital channels, but it's also all of the offline channels as well. And depending on your strategy, those offline channels can be enormously effective. Like you said, Danny, I mean, if you get the linking up with the cinema chain for obvious reasons, definitely works for you guys. So it's also really targeted. Some people think it can't be targeted, but it's about what medium you use.
Mm. One other just tiny question here on the conversions for your signups. Are we just assuming that they are all new customers to the company? They're not people that perhaps have ordered something before and have just signed up to this particular event?
Yeah, so look, in the real world, it's so much more complex, which is why I just picked an event, because it's an isolated sort of thing. We're saying that we want some specific people to go there. But the truth is, if you were running an activity like this, you would have a big campaign that's going to everyone on your professional services sales teams will have a sales list, and they'll have people who they sort of already know about, and they would have a big push on those people. It would kind of depend on the nature of the industry about how many potential customers there are and things like that. But for the purposes of this example, we said that everyone's new.
Everyone's new. Okay, yeah, that makes
for
sense.
the purposes of this example.
Yeah.
So look, just to sort of follow through sort of this example then to make the point. So we're saying that we set up a strategy that included LinkedIn ads, Google ads, and then had a remarketing sort of play. And the assumption is that we're going to reach a lot of our target audience with these things because of the targeting that we've got on LinkedIn, and because of the fact that people who are interested in this event will be typing in certain search phrases. And we get some direct conversions. So we got 10 from each channel, but actually we're creating awareness. And more specifically, we're actually creating a remarketing audience. Because remember the way remarketing works. If I, on this computer, land on a Noops landing page, Noops can remarket to me, even though they don't know who I am. They know what this computer is based on a cookie that's dropped on, and they can remarket to me with a second touch, a more sales focused or more conversion focused message can sort of go back via remarketing, and then you create that engagement and hopefully a conversion. But even if you don't convert, even on the third touch, people can come back via organic search, they can come back directly. And that's the idea here. So the value of awareness marketing is not necessarily to directly convert, but it's to motivate a second and third touches where we get another opportunity to convert. So just the nature of this week, it's a little bit technical. So sorry, Emily, you've been looking at lots of numbers, but I'll just give you a few more, and then we'll move away from numbers and we'll just go to screenshots and we'll talk. But this is the last set of numbers, I promise, of the whole course. Okay. So now what we're saying here is similar data to before, but what we're asking now is what is the best KPI for each channel? So because we're saying that LinkedIn, it's a video, it's about creating awareness. We're not really expecting someone to watch a video and just immediately buy something or sign up for something. We're saying we want to reach the right people and we want to get the message across. So in that instance, because impressions, we said that for awareness, it's about reach and impressions, we might use the KPI of CPM. So we would measure, and I think Danny was sort of pointed this out a minute ago, you wouldn't necessarily look at the signups, you would probably look at how many impressions you've got. And so the sort of the industry standard is cost per 1,000 impressions. So it's £20 per 1,000 impressions. And that's, we may or may not think that's good value, but it's £20 to reach, to reach a lot of our target sort of audience, and that would be a decent KPI to use. So why are KPIs important? Well, they give us a stake in the ground, but they only really become valuable when we run the campaign next month or next year or next quarter or whenever it is. Because if we know that last time we reached 500,000 people and it cost us £20 per 1,000, then we've got an opportunity to try and improve. So how can we improve? We can be more clever with our targeting. We can be, more clever potentially, with our messaging that wouldn't directly impact the number of impressions, but it would impact how many people watched our video, to at least 75% or whatever our sort of engagement metric is. For AdWords, because it's search advertising, our job is to be presented when someone mentions us, when someone types in a relevant search. And during the search advertising week, we spoke about how the auction works. So that's a job in itself. But then if we write the text correctly, we match it up correctly with the right phrases, then we should be able to maximize the number of people that actually click, because that's what we really want. We want people to click through onto our site. And therefore, the cost per click is the best KPI to use for search advertising. Because remarketing, by its nature, it's going back to people who have already shown an interest. They've already been on the landing page, they've already engaged with us in some way. Then it makes sense to say, I want people to actually convert. I want people to take that action to make a purchase on my website, or sign up for a form, or sign up for a consultation, or whatever our objective is that's on our particular website. And therefore, I want to say, if I spend £5,000 on this conversion-focused remarketing activity, I want to know how many conversions I can get, so I can work out what is the cost per conversion. And again, by itself, it's up to the company to know, would they pay £100 for an event attendee? Well, if their product was only worth £100, probably not. But if they're selling, Arab jet engines for, £1 million, then they probably would pay that if they knew that they could get some sales from those 120 event attendees. So it's all relative. And moreover, the cost per conversion, for this type of activity only really becomes valuable when you run the activity again next time, because next time we've got a benchmark and we've got a target, that we can try and beat, if you like. When we talk about the performance of a, organic direct, what we actually mean here is the number of people who went to the landing page, how many of them signed up to form. We spoke about conversion rate percentage. So that means if 100 people land on my web page, and and one of them, on average, out of every 100, one of them makes a purchase, that's a conversion rate of 1%. So benchmarking our conversion rate, and in this case, it's 2.5%. That's typically the best way to measure the performance of a website or individual web pages. Okay, sorry for throwing a lot of stuff at you there. Let's just. Are there any general questions around measurement or metrics? How important is it in your organization? Lucy, do you want to go first?
Sorry, guys, my internet is really playing up at the moment, but just to say that's really interesting, Elliot, because I think your point about the actual cost per unit effectively as to what you're selling is just so important, and obviously which route you would decide to take based on the cost of the sale. I mean, for us at Kinto Join, the licenses start from 2,000, they range up to 9,000. So all of those scenarios would could effectively work really well for us. So it is interesting. And I suppose for us, it would be more like conferences. I know obviously Emily mentioned about the van or the truck that she has, but for us, it would probably be more kind of conferences where we'd be able to use those kind of events. So it is really interesting kind of looking at that. and looking at the return that you can get from it, and obviously the organic traffic, and being able to measure it. I think absolutely you have to be able to measure it, because you need to know that you're getting that return on investment. So for us in particular, or for me personally, I think it'd be really important to be able to measure that. But like you say, a lot of it will actually come further down the line, so it's not actually from the initial impression. It could be from a later organic search that's done. But yeah, I found that really interesting.
Yeah, no, thanks, Lucy. Some good points there. Emily?
No, the numbers didn't throw me off too much there. You'll be pleased to know. I think my question earlier about how you weigh it up, and it is some sort of eternal question as to whether you're basing it on impressions or like the financial gain at the end of it. That was a really interesting debate, and that's kind of been covered. So thank you.
Pleasure. Danny?
I don't really have anything to add. I feel like everything you've said makes complete sense, and I would say that it's incredibly important for the business to have key metrics to be able to measure things, but it's just not my realm within the team, so I feel hard to be able to contribute something that would provide actual insight.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It was just to capture anything. I mean, I want to say, because what you just said there, Danny, and Lucy, you said the same. It's really important to measure. I do, because I feel I'm kind of, I've seen because of the time, and I've been in this industry. When we started our digital agency, just diverting for a second, if you'll allow me, I was a programmer. My co-founder was a programmer. We set up to just build and develop and design websites, because in 2006, when we started, there wasn't really digital marketing, because there wasn't really search engine optimization. Google was there, but there was no ability to buy ads. They hadn't started search advertising. Facebook had barely started. So there wasn't, at that time, it was kind of everyone shifting from, paper-based systems to software systems, marketing leaflets and brochures to, we'll keep them, but we'll also have we want a website version of it. And that was what marketing was doing sort of 15 years ago. And it's only relatively recently, and it's obviously we're experiencing at the moment, where you've got this, it's actually speeding up all of the offline money. It used to go to full-on TV advertising, print advertising, and it's all being sucked into digital. And as a digital agency, obviously we're benefiting from that, and we enjoy it. It's what we do. But as I said a few minutes ago, I think there is a place for offline, and I think actually the value of offline, I hope that we don't lose it. I don't think we will, because market forces will make sure it's retained. It's not a question of digital or offline. I think they both have a future together. Yeah.
Weirdly, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, this just wasn't a thing a few years ago, and now it's such a massive industry. And it's what extent you keep it, because even like through the pandemic, we're seeing about the demise of the high street, and it's the demise of everything else that's happening over the past few years in replace of like digital streams. But I don't think, or I hope those things don't ever go, because everything just seems so introverted otherwise.
Well, I think you're right, and I think the truth is because there is significant pressure on us. You guys are marketing people. We're a digital marketing agency, so there is this constant pressure from, understandably, from the people who own the budgets to say, how much am I getting back? From, if I give you X, I want X plus Y. And that is the way it is, and that's fine, that's understandable. But when we go really, really, if all our marketing is going to be only objective, meaning we are utterly measurable, then we will have to move into a scenario where almost everything's digital, because it's mostly measurable. But the truth is, it's that hidden value that we've just been talking about. It's like where you create awareness, whether you're driving a bus or getting an article in the media, or partnering with influencers or with a cinema chain, then it's difficult to measure. But actually, if you could measure it, you might find that even more, or at least as effective as some digital marketing activity, even though it's not as measurable. And that's I suppose, in a sense, it's the challenge, really. It's like, how can we put a subjective value on a channel and stack it up against another channel that can be really measured to the nth degree? I don't know the answer.
And another question, I'm just curious, how much of any business's marketing activity do you feel should be measured, and on what regularity? Because are we saying kind of it should be on a campaign basis? You just measure for an isolated, say your campaign runs for 6 weeks, you just do that, and then the next time you run it, you have a point of comparison, as you say? Or, I mean, I might imagine lots of people must be measuring all of their activity that they do on a monthly basis.
So that's an incredibly good question. And the truth is, it's absolutely not campaign by campaign, mainly because, let's say for any marketing, for any organization that wants a constant flow of customers moving through their funnel and turning into customers and repeat purchases, and for any organization that's doing that, I think the danger of just being obsessed about a campaign, particularly if it's a short-term campaign, is that you'll get false positives and you'll get false negatives back, and you can't really plan, particularly for a higher education organization, particularly for an organization like Kinto Join, where you've got relatively long decision-making sort of periods, and you need customers that are always becoming aware of your offer, they're always engaging with your offer, and always actually buying, your offer, and you need that constant flow. So it's actually a strategy that covers all of that journey, from awareness to engagement to being a customer to servicing the customer thereafter, and having that all working together. And lots of campaigns would underpin that activity, along with the always on activity. Yeah. Things like search marketing. As Kinto Join, for anyone who's looking for corporate carpooling solutions, you're always going to want to capture that search. It's not going to be a campaign. You're not going to not want to capture it in June, but do want to capture it in May.
Yeah. It will always be the same for us.
Yeah. And so thank you for asking the question, Danny, but it's I suppose it underpins the point that actually all of these campaigns serve slightly different purposes to move someone from one point in the funnel further down. But remember, when we say move someone, the reality is for buying, your higher education, for buying a corporate carpooling, even for buying a new form of hot chocolate, we can put the right messages in the right place to the right people, but ultimately it's up to them to move. So they're going to move in their own time, really, particularly for the higher value purchases. So yeah, the only way we can measure is by looking at all of the channels, as a whole, really, and just understanding that they've all got slightly different purposes and they work in slightly different ways.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go into Google Analytics. I'm going to talk a bit about sort of how that connects with this measurement stuff. But any more questions before I go into that?
No.
Okay. So here we go. Right. So Google Analytics, just before I start, has anyone not seen Google Analytics before?
I actually haven't. I've never actually looked.
Okay, all right, no worries. I just to get an understanding. Emily, have you seen it? Lucy. Emily's getting a comment. Lucy,
I haven't, Elliot. No.
You haven't. Okay, right. So Google
I haven't seen it, Emily. I'm sorry, Elliot. No.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Lucy. So I'm in a minute. I'm going to show some screenshots. So you'll get an idea for what it looks like. But in general, the Google Analytics talks, it's, I feel like I want to jump to the screenshot now. Google Analytics is a system for measuring activity, on your website. So largely speaking, mainly speaking, it's a massive software system that's obviously written by Google, owned by Google. When we log into it, and us as a user are connected to our particular website, we can see how many people landed on that website, what pages they went on the website, how they got into the website, when they left the website, how much time they spent on the website. We can see a whole lot of information. Google Analytics has hundreds of default reports, and you can create loads of other ones. But really broadly speaking, there's 3 types of reports. First of all, and they're called the ABCs of Google Analytics, sometimes it's called acquisition reports, is all about how do people get onto my site? Do they come from Facebook? Do they come from LinkedIn? Do they come from social media in general? Do they come from organic search? Do they come from paid search? Do they come from email campaigns? Do they click a link on another website and come to our website? So how did they get onto our website? And you can go into a lot of detail about that. The behavior reports, which is another section, is all about once they're on our site, well, I don't care how they came now, what did they actually do? What pages did they look at? How many pages did they visit before they left? How long did they spend on this particular page? What page did they land on when they came in the site? So what was their entry page? What was their exit page? And then conversion reports, it's not strictly speaking by itself a set of reports, but it's all of the things that we spoke about. We can say, we can look at them from a view of how successful were they at motivating a conversion. So I'm going to talk about another tool where we can set up conversions, but for now, let's just say if we've got a course page with an apply now button on, we're saying we can track every time that apply now button is clicked. And if that button is clicked, then Google Analytics can say that click happened, but it can also say it happened by this person who came from Facebook, who landed on our homepage, who went to the what is it like to be a student in London page, who watched this video about Met Film, who then went onto the course page and then clicked the button. So it can say that that button was clicked, but it can track it back to that specific journey. It doesn't give us the name of the person, but it tells us in great detail what they did and how they got onto our website, i.e. it tells us how we acquired them, and it tells us the behavior on the site. And the same for, on the Kinto Join website, exactly the same for someone who filled out an email inquiry form, for example. Same for the Noops site for someone who made a purchase. And so conversion reports allow us to not just look at what people, where they were coming from and what they were doing, but also in the context of who did the things we want them to do. And so the value of Google Analytics becomes not so much a kind of academic, 1,000 people landed on my website from Facebook and only 100 people landed from Twitter. Well, actually, if the Twitter people converted at a rate of 10% and Facebook converted at a rate of 0.5%, actually the Twitter audience, although it's much smaller, is way more valuable to my business. Therefore, I know that Twitter is a more valuable channel. Therefore, it informs my strategy. And obviously, when we talk about search advertising, or social media advertising, you connect the ad platforms to Google Analytics, which is how digital agencies, Mintvist, and everyone else will give the kind of detailed reports that they're able to give. It's also how you can get them sorts of measurements, objective measurements that we're talking about, which as we've just said, like it or loathe it, digital advertising is brilliant because it's very, very trackable. Okay, let's talk about acquisition reports. I'll just sort of show you what they look like. So as I mentioned, it's about which channels, so channel groups, but also about, we can dig into the detail. I'll talk more detail in the next. Can you see the screen okay?
Yeah.
So the defaults when you go into the most basic acquisition report is probably the channel report. And when you go into it, it's going to show you, it's going to break down the number of a session means someone visited your website. Users means a unique person visited your website. So most people will talk about users. So for Kinto Join, for Metfil, you'll talk about users. If you're a newspaper site like Guardian or Daily Mail, and you want people coming back and back and back, reading your site 10 times a day, then you're going to get really large session numbers, way larger than your users. Most marketing websites will be broadly one-to-one. But what this is saying is this is for the last time period, and you can set it, in this case, it's by, you can set it whatever time period you want for the last day, last week or month. How many people visited my site? So we can see that most people are coming from organic search. So that means they could have typed any term from, Kinto join, which is a branded search term, and they find your website and they click on it, to corporate carpooling solutions, non-branded term. Whatever the term is, they get put into that bucket. If they came direct, meaning they just typed in the URL directly, or it's saved on their browser, that's a direct entry. Referral means they clicked from another site onto that website. So if Mintvist had a blog article writing about Noops and someone clicked on a link that goes to the Noops site, that's a referral. Social media means they came from social posts, Facebook, whatever social channel it is, and all of them. Email is email, and paid search, if you're running it, shows there. If you then click on the social channel, it will then list all of the social channels. So it will say Facebook, you got 1,000, Twitter, you got 500, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, it will show them all. And so you can drill down, and you can continue to drill down as far as you want to go in a sense. And if I click on referrals, I'll get a list of all of the websites in the world that have sent traffic back to me over whatever period I set. So the other important sort of number to look at here, if you follow my mouse here, this is because I've set up goals. In this case, we've got a goal set up. It's going to say, of the people who came from these channels, what percentage of them completed a goal on that visit, on that particular visit to the website? How many of them made a purchase, signed up, applied, clicked the apply now button, or whatever goal it is we want? And it will tell us a discrete number, but it also tells us the rate. Also tells us the rate here. So as you can see, organic search converts 0.5% for this particular website. Direct 0.9, referral slightly higher, 1.4. But the best channel for this particular website is email. So if they run email campaigns and they get visitors from those email campaigns, the conversion rate, is very high as a percentage. The number's not so big because the email list is not big enough, but the conversion rate's high. That's fairly normal. If you click on the referrals link and drill down, you'll see, sorry, is this, yeah, this is the referrals link. So it's going to show a list of websites that refer traffic, and in some cases, the status update links. It's going to show us the number of sessions, but also, again, it's going to show us the conversion rates. And as you can see, you can get really, really big variations. And when we look at analytics for clients, very often you find a particular subset of websites that are driving really, really valuable web traffic to a page. And if you find a site like that, then your job is to go and, can I get more referral traffic from that particular website? Or can I find more versions of that website? Underneath acquisition reports, you can also look at search queries that are driving organic search to your site. As we mentioned, it's normal for the branded search terms to send you the most volume. So this is for the Mintvist site, but also you want to find out what are the non-branded search terms that are really working for me. And so this one here, I'm going to talk in a moment about website content. So Mintvist write a lot of blog content. We spoke in week 2, I think, about if we create blog content that starts to rank by itself as in search engines for relevant phrases, you can drive a lot of inbound traffic. So Mintvist for many years ran a study every year where we aimed to predict the winner of the Eurovision Song Contest just using how many social media mentions each of the bands got in advance of the Eurovision actually happening. And actually for 3 years in a row, the guy got 1, 2, and 3 correct. And then in the 4th year, he got 1 correct and 2 and 3 were transposed or something. So he gave up and never did it again because he was so embarrassed. But in all honesty, it was amazing how accurate his performances were. And so for this particular year, I think it was the first year actually, or second year, it just got really well ranked. And to this day, even though it's a 4-year-old blog article, it drives a lot of traffic via this particular search phrase. I'm going to talk more about the relevance of that in a moment.
Elliot, sorry, can I just interrupt? Yep. I don't know whether Danny and Emily are finding the same, but I don't think I'm seeing what I should be seeing on the screen.
I can see it, sorry.
Are you the same, Emily?
No, I can see it, sorry.
So you're not seeing, Lucy, you're not seeing, I'm seeing, here I'm seeing a list of search phrases.
Yeah, sorry. I think it's my internet connection, you know, Elliot. It keeps flicking and I wasn't sure. So it's like a spreadsheet with external website hosting and support.
No, I don't think that is right. Let me share my,
It's just been a consolation of having massive problems with my screen sharing earlier. Zoom's a bit funny, like when you change windows and things, sometimes you lose.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let me try and share the right, PowerPoint. I think you can probably see it now. Are you seeing it now?
I can see it now, yeah. It was the spreadsheet that was up before, Elliot. But it kept flicking to something else and I wasn't sure whether it was my internet or...
I think Emily's right. Emily's right. I think it was Zoom. I don't think it was your internet. I think it was Zoom. Emily's right.
It can be a bit of a pain sometimes.
Yeah. So sorry about that, Lucy, but you can download them later and you'll
Elliot, that makes so much more sense.
I'll go through quickly this stuff because I think you guys probably get the idea and I would rather answer your questions. So these are the behavior reports. One of the main ones is what are the most popular pages? The / is the homepage. So normally most websites, the homepage would be most popular in terms of numbers. But then you've got, all of the other pages that are the most viewed, as in most visited. You'll also, the interesting thing when you go into a report like this is you'll see the obvious ones like an agency, it's always meet the team or about us, contact us, our work. But then there will be sometimes long tail pages like blog articles. And if you see a blog article, like this is an example of that, or even a white paper that's ranking way higher than some of your like more core pages, it probably means it's being ranked for relevant search and it's driving a lot of search traffic. Now, when you see things like this, like obscure pages showing up in your behavior reports, it means that lots of people are entering via that page because it's ranked by search, and it's an opportunity to create awareness because if it's being ranked for search, it probably means it's going to be driving reasonable numbers of traffic for a reasonable period of time. So what you do is if you've got a blog article, if you're lucky enough to have blog articles that are driving a lot of traffic, you go and have a look at them. You see what they're about. In this case, we wrote an article years ago about Naver, which is like South Korea's version of Google versus Google, and about that topic. And 3 years ago, it was a highly relevant article. It's still driving a lot of traffic now. People basically wanting to, in the UK and Europe, wanting to find out about Naver because it probably means they're wondering how they can target, or potentially wondering about how they can target sort of South Korean audience. So if you see an article like this, you want to think to yourself, who are the sorts of people who are going to be Googling it? Who are the sorts of people who are going to be getting on it? Is there a relevant call to action that I can put at the top of this blog article that was 3 years old and was written just as a general interest article 3 years ago, but now is driving significant amounts of monthly traffic that might be interested in our services, as in this case, as a digital agency at some stage. And so that's one of the ways you would use those reports. Coming on from that, there's entry and exit pages. So if the entry page report shows you how people get into your site, again, normally you'll see the homepage will be number one, but you'll have other pages that will be ranking for search terms and people are clicking on those on those pages within search results and entering your site directly in that particular page, not via the home page. And so again, if someone's coming into your site via those pages in large numbers, if we know that that's happening, we might want to reposition the content on that particular page so that we're welcoming these people in an appropriate way. Similarly, we've got exit pages as well. You know, if we've got exit pages, then we want to know where people are leaving so that we can say goodbye to them in the right way. It's a bit like if you've got a physical store and someone's wandering around and then they just wander out, you'll probably say, you know, goodbye, I hope to see you again, or you know, there might be a digital equivalent to that. Typically, a target user journey, you would want users to leave on certain pages. If you're an e-commerce store, you want them to leave on the checkout page. You know, if you're professional services, you know, contact page, you know, and there will be pages, there will be exit pages that are good exit pages, and there will be pages where we don't really want people to exit. If they're exiting in large numbers, let's have a look at the content and see if we can improve that. The last thing I want to talk about, I'll just talk about it verbally because there's Google Analytics, which is a software system, a lot to it. There's a technical sort of there's a technical system that sits alongside it called Google Tag Manager. And Google Tag Manager allows technical people, digital marketing people with a relatively large amount of technical knowledge, because it's not entry-level stuff here, to set up triggers on particular points inside the website code. So what this means is I can tell if someone's clicking on a button. I can tell if someone's scrolling down across an area of a page. I can tell how long someone's been on a page for. I can tell what page they were on previously. I can tell what page they're just about to open. I can tell how much of the page is loaded on the end browser screen. So it's like a listening tool. And this is where a lot of the creepy stuff happens, frankly. A lot of the activity that end users, again, it's anonymized, but the interaction that they're having with a website, and more specifically pages, and more specifically elements of a page, can all be tracked with Google Tag Manager and passed back into Google Analytics. And from there, also beg your pardon, passed back into Google Analytics, but also into the ad platforms, so that digital marketers can track activity based on a set of rules that they want to set up. So if I want to know if a user's scrolls down a page and been there for 5 seconds and is thinking about leaving the page. So I'll give you a practical example. Sometimes when you hover up towards an X button and you're starting to close the page, you can, using a trigger, you can then create an event that will then serve a pop-up. You know, that's a kind of proactive use of this stuff. But the more typical use is it's used to inform, very detailed reporting around, activity. And it's also, it's what we're saying, the main use of it is it sets up the goals. So the objectives, what do we want people to do on a site? Well, we can set this stuff up and monitor it using Google Tag Manager. Okay, that is the end of measurement and analytics, and actually the end of this course, unfortunately. So having said all that, do you have any questions, comments about anything at all to do with digital marketing or analytics or measurement?
Well, in all honesty, Elliot, I'm a bit sad that the course is ending, because it's been really, really good. I've really enjoyed it. I didn't really have much digital marketing knowledge, to be honest with you, prior to this course. So it really, really has been useful for me. Not that I'm going to be involved in it a huge amount, but I may well be involved in kind of any decisions that are made going forward in marketing that we choose to do. So it's been really, really interesting for me, and I absolutely love the Google Analytics. I think if I had my way, I would probably sit on there and study every little part of it. I really, really like that. And I have actually seen the more in-depth stuff from another marketing company a few years ago, who were literally looking at where your fingerprint goes on a website. And so that was quite interesting. But no, so I mean, the course has been really useful, and I'm certainly going to download all of the materials to have keep them and to refer back to them. So thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. It's been a massive pleasure getting to know you a bit better, Lucy. So I'm really hopeful. Look, I think the main purpose of this course is yeah, look, you can dive into these topics and as much as you want, but I think the main purpose of this course is to give you sort of enough knowledge to be able to ask the right questions and challenge digital marketers. Yeah. I mean, too many of us, I think, it's easy to sort of get bogged down in technical acronyms and things like that, but at the high level, most of this stuff should be, it should make sense, really.
Yeah.
And so hopefully it's given you.
Yeah, and it's definitely done that. It really has.
Cool. Danny, any thoughts or questions on the end?
No, I agree. Actually, the Google Analytics thing is something you could end up spending so many hours on and being quite obsessed with, couldn't you? And I think it was interesting when you're talking about seeing blog content that's ranked really well, and you said it was an opportunity to go back in there and to maybe add a message on the beginning, which is totally true. And then I guess in addition to that, it's also an opportunity to learn what kind of content is being really effective for your channels and for your business, and that informs your strategy, doesn't it? It helps you think what more content could we create that's similar to that will be effective. And I think that's actually something that I've gained a lot throughout the course as a whole, and something that I've ended up making side notes on other pads, which is just content ideas and trying to think a little bit more about what kind of content we should be spending more time on and what we're not doing enough of. What is the kind of content that will generate more clicks rather than just something that just happens to fall on a desk. So yeah, in that regard, it's a lot of good, inspiring ideas that have been gained.
Oh, look, it's nothing makes my day better than hearing you say that, Danny and Emily and Lucy. It's a massive pleasure. Let me just put in the chat now, because if both of you are that keen on Google Analytics, I put in the chat there that Google itself has a lot of really good free resources. The link there I've put is the beginner's sort of guide to Google Analytics, YouTube videos and things like that. But there's a whole, there is a lot to it. On a forum like this, it's difficult, but feel free to, to go and explore that link whenever you want, because there's you can build, I say you could probably spend another half an hour to 45 minutes on top of what I've just given you, and you'll go the next step on if you want.
Oh, brilliant.
Can I ask, I haven't actually downloaded any slides so far. Is there a way of downloading all of them in one go?
A couple of people have asked me this. Are they, when you try and go in the slides in that event, is it not giving you a download link? Have you tried it?
I haven't yet.
I'm wondering if it's me, because I'm the admin, I'm able to download it, but other people not. I assumed that you would be able to.
I won't lie, I'm not a massitive LinkedIn user. I think I've been into the page once, so which is bad considering how much we've talked about LinkedIn. But I don't know. I just feel like you need an hour of the day for LinkedIn sometimes. But
you know what? Because so many people have asked it. You know what? I'll put them all in a Google Drive folder, and I'll put links to the videos, because the videos, someone on the Wednesday course pointed out that you can't download them. I don't think I'm going to be able to put a download link to the videos, because I don't have any I don't have any storage space that's large enough, but I will put YouTube links, which are much easier to consume than LinkedIn. I'll put a link to the YouTube links, and I'll put a link to a folder where you can download all of the slides for all of the weeks.
We've covered so much throughout the course, but do you think that there are particular other resources online and things that you think that you would recommend to try and begin implementing some of the stuff? I don't know, podcasts or particular training sites.
There are so many. There are so many, and I think look, Google. If you Google University, it will. I've given you the link to analytics, but there's similar programs for AdWords, for YouTube advertising. Facebook has something called Project Blue Book, I think it was called, which has a whole bunch of resources, mostly for Facebook advertising, but there's a bit of stuff about the organic, strategies in there. LinkedIn will have similar things. So I have over the years sort of collected a lot of these, and I'll put them in a sort of word pad. But I do think Facebook Blue Book is very good, and the Google University stuff is very good. I think it's not so much a training course, but the Social Media Examiner podcast, I think is if you go and listen to that podcast, they've got a lot of experts who come on every week speaking about different topics. So he's been the guy called Michael Stelzner. He's a guy from the US. He's been doing that for about 6 years. So you can search his podcast, and every podcast has an equivalent blog article. There's some really good information about tactics, particularly social media, but they also cover some of the other topics we've spoken about, including analytics. But I'll put a list of those in the email that I'll send out to both groups. It'll probably come later this week, if that's all right. It's Thursday time. And
thank you.
No worries.
I just wanted to add, thank you so much. I think I said most weeks it's really useful, and I just find the Google Analytics really useful, even though that I'm not directly part of the marketing, but it's something I would like to read around, because I do tap in with the work that Daisy and the rest of the team do. But no, thank you again, it's been really useful. I did, Danny and Lucy, I did say to Elliot the other week that I spoke with our manager, and we're going to get some Canoops drinks vouchers out to you guys, and the rest of the people who are on the team. So I will get them sent out tonight or tomorrow.
Thank you. That's very nice of you.
That's okay. No, thank you again, Elliot.
No, my pleasure. Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Danny and Lucy. I've really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So thanks so much, and I'll look forward to hopefully meeting you in person.
Yeah.
At some stage. That would be a weird one, wouldn't it?
I only met my boss for the first time on Friday.
Oh, really?
So no, it was so weird.
Wow. Yeah. Look, I mean, we are planning to be back in the office full time in June. So I think one of the things that we'll be doing is not training courses like this, but we'll have sort of events that we're going to run at this office in Liverpool Street, mixers and a bit of information, but lots of mixings. Hopefully you guys will come to one of those, and maybe this summer autumn, whenever we can, let's try and meet up. It would be really cool.
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Elliot.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Take care. Lovely to meet you, Emily and Danny.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.